Super. BS.
Well, howdy doody. I bet you thought we'd never return because we was goofing on you. We were always hiding and always planning on returning this week. We just wanted to take last week off because we thought it was so important to spook you out and scare you and make you think we're not there. But we're here, and we're always here, and we're always going to be here, and we're never going to leave. And if we ever leave, that's a lie, and you know that, and you know you got to find us somewhere else on the interwebs. It is I, your lovable baby boy, Brank, one of the co-hosts of Super BS, podcast about video games, mostly. And I'm joined by...
Not Brank, Josh, the lovable big baby boy Brank, partner in crime.
I love this lovable big baby boy Brank. This is practically the musical from Always Sunny. Tiny boy, baby boy, I love you. Probably the best Always Sunny episode.
You know what I was thinking about the other day when we did those Numenera episodes?
Oh,
and
I missed the ones that went on for forever. I did the one in Christmas.
Yeah, those were long. Like was not a fan of those last few, but like I remember the one we did, and we were in some kind of like scenario where the village people were being drawn across some ice to like this siren song, and it was up to you to save them. And instead of saving them, you took your shirt off and skated around the ice
to show off tricks,
showing them tricks and showing off and flexing at them.
Yeah, I mean that's what you got to do, man. I ain't a jabroni, so. As you know, we aren't jabronis on the show here, okay? We are strong, powerful young men / children. Dude, we have not been keeping it honest because this has been a slow gaming year. What have you been playing, man? Because I feel like I've been in a gaming drought.
So I actually went backwards this week.
Go forwards!
Yeah, I know, right? I finished Forza Horizon 4, so I went on to Forza Horizon 3, and I was messing around with that a little bit.
Okay.
It's Forza, you know, like it's fun. I do miss the English countryside. Like I don't think that they'll ever be able to top just how beautiful that setting was.
It's so funny because that's one of our biggest complaints for Valhalla is how boring it is, and it's the exact same setting.
But I don't.
Forza Horizon 4.
Like Forza Horizon, it's a beautiful game, man. Whereas Valhalla was like glitchy. You know, it was glitchy and it was dark. But like in Horizon, they really got all like everything that is England to kind of like pop and shine at you. I don't know. It seemed like it was a lot brighter than Valhalla.
I mean, I definitely agree that I enjoy the world in Horizon a little bit more than Valhalla. I actually enjoy Valhalla a lot as a game, but I do find just the main England setting to be pretty boring. I did start the Ireland DLC, and that's pretty good. But
okay.
I don't want
to. I was like debating whether or not I wanted to go back into that this soon. So is it worth like playing? Is it good?
I mean, I didn't beat the game like you did. I'm only power level 90 now, so I think it's a perfect time to play it because unlike Odyssey, where I loved the game and I finished it so quickly, I didn't come back when the DLC was out. This one, I'm kind of just slowly playing. So, I'm playing through the DLC as it's coming. Now, will I, be continuing to play it when they're on DLC pack or season pass 2 or whatever they're supposed to be working on? I don't know. But for right now, like, it's pretty cool. So it's like my game in this moment right now where there's not, there's new stuff I picked up and I just am not, I can't care. But okay, so let's get to more Forza Horizon chat. After that, what else have you played?
All right, so I went back and tried to play Cozy, and we talked about this off air. Yeah, I tried to play Cozy Grove again, and those like what'd you call them, like chore simulators or what?
Yeah, I don't know. Life simulators are what people call them, but yeah, they essentially you just do a bunch of chores.
Yeah, I don't like. I keep telling myself I want to go back and play Spiritfarer again, but I mean, if it's anything like my return to Cozy Grove, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. Like you have to literally be sitting down, and you have to play those games all in one sitting. Like you can't. I mean, you can't. Not in one sitting, but you have to like play it without playing another game alongside it.
Or taking like a long break. Yeah, there's a lot of games like that.
Yeah.
I totally know. I mean, I feel sometimes like Assassin's Creed are like that, but the newer Assassin's Creed are so much like, you take about 5 minutes, you'll get back to it because there's just a bunch of checklists. You're not
exactly. And there's like objective points. Like with this though, like you forget what you were doing and why you were doing it, who gave you the quest. Like it's I don't know, and you almost like forget some of the mechanics that you were playing around with.
Yeah, man. Those games, we talked about Animal Crossing here a lot, so I'm not going to bring it back up, but I just have issues with those games.
Yeah.
Like I'm done with those. About new stuff though that I've been playing, and if you got some more.
What have you been playing?
Well, yeah, I talked about this. I've jumped back and forth into Valhalla, and I'll play it here or there. I finished my Apex season pass, so I've played very little of that. I picked up Lilies, which I think we talked about briefly last episode. I don't think I had picked it up yet. It's real good. It's really, really fun. It has some issues, though, which keep me from, I'm at a point already where it's so difficult that I don't have, the energy a lot of times to keep going. But anyways, because we've been watching Lost, which I talked about, the hottest, newest TV show on TV.
Oh, hey, while we're on watching things, did you check out the Black Widow?
No, did you watch it?
I did, yeah, on Disney Plus.
Was it good?
It was all right. It wasn't like everyone was toting it as this big, actually no, people weren't giving it great ratings, but I was reading that it's a big social achievement, but I didn't see it as that. I just saw it as a cool movie. It was good, David Harbour's really great. It takes place in between. If you're worried about it being taking you too far back, it takes place right after Captain America: Civil War.
So this is not a prequel. I thought this was a prequel Black Widow storyline to show you her whole life.
No, it goes back. The beginning of the movie has Ohio 1974 or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it fast forwards to the events right after Captain America: Civil War. So William Hurt's in it. He plays Thunderbolt Ross again.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, sorry, he's the guy that introduced the Sokovia Accords.
Okay. I am not as I've looked up a picture of this guy. He was also in that Hulk movie. The one with Edward Norton.
Yeah, yep.
That's so funny that they kept him. Yet Edward Norton's not in any of the rest of them. Old Ed Norton, man. You know what? I wanted to see it. I went to the movies actually recently. I watched a very terrible film called Forever Purge.
Yeah, I heard that some people actually enjoyed that movie.
I guess if you want woke moralization about how poor white people are the worst in the world and how they should be murdered, I think I totally get it.
Didn't Kevin Smith did that same thing with that movie Red State he made, where it's he painted the South to be these racist, intolerant hicks.
Well, I'm okay if they do that with a broad brushstroke, I guess. But in some ways, it was a little funny because the only good people that were white in the movie was the rich farm owners, and I did find that funny as I'm finding myself more and more in the poorer class as I get older to be and realizing more and more that the rich people are in charge of most things, not middle class, but
do you see the issue here? You need to farm. You need to go to Home Depot and you need to buy some clay pots and you need to grow some tomatoes and your luck will change. It's that simple.
It's just a weird movie, man. I think it's really bad, and I didn't think it had enough action. I didn't think it was interesting enough, and I thought the screenplay was written a first pass. So the movie's called Forever Purge. There were multiple scenes where there was guys ranting, "Forever Purge, ever after," and it's almost like a Rick and Morty dialogue piece at the end of the episode. We're
the fans of Rick and Morty are probably the people still watching that franchise.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's me and my buddies who like it that I don't want to out them on this podcast because they were very upset with me that I made fun of it at all. It sucked. But yeah, I watched that, and obviously I watched a really good movie recently, Fast 9. But
dang.
We already talked about F9 in the past, and it's amazing goodness. But yeah, I played Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Intermission, or Intergrade Intermission.
Recharge.
Recharged. I played
By
a little
Sleep.
bit more of that. I like the main game, and I don't know if there's something wrong with my brain or other people feel this. I really find it hard to play it. I just don't care. And I feel like the combat is like I'm on a boss fight right now. I'm playing on the standard difficulty.
It's a lot faster, I've heard. Like it moves quicker.
It's a lot faster. You actually need to have more strategy when fighting a boss, but it feels like you're playing Devil May Cry, but the combat is asking you to play a little bit more Dark Souls, but at the speed of Devil May Cry, where it's like, oh, you need to be rolling around at all times and also using the exact move. Well, unlike Dark Souls, you have to use the exact move that the boss is weak to, which you can like do an assess move, but it's just there. I feel like it just started and it expected me to know how to play it. And it gave me like, 3 tutorials real quick, but it is so much harder than the Cloud storyline was.
Can we not just Fire Blizzard, Knights of the Round, and knock them all down?
Can.
Is that not a possibility?
Oh, yeah, man. That's what you do. Knights of the Round. Dude, and honestly, like, one of the things I think that frustrates me the most is, like, do you remember you set up your face buttons with you do, like, R1, and then you do triangle, square, X, or circle, and you can set up different abilities? Mm-hmm. Well, there is an ability in this game, the most essential ability that gives you elemental powers, that cannot be accessed by any menu. You have to set it up pre-battle. So I went and fought a boss fight. I did not have that ability that he was weak to set up, so I actually couldn't beat him. So I had to restart, go back to the save, go set up the things again, and then fight him. And I did all that, and then I got to the beginning of the fight again. I'm like, I don't care. So I shut it off. I'll hopefully go back. I do plan on finishing it. I had the same kind of feeling with Final Fantasy VII Remake, a mix of like, oh, it needs to be played at night because it's so dark and hard to see.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's something that's like, I like it a lot. Like, I really do enjoy the way it looks. I enjoy the way the story's presented. I enjoy most of the combat, but I don't know if it's because it feels like it's so easy to miss something important or to do something wrong, but I don't look forward to playing it.
That's like traditionally with Final Fantasy games, especially the, 10, I guess you could say 10 and beyond, is the fact that you have to explore every nook and cranny of the game because there are things that you can't go back to at certain points. Like you just get locked off from going back to them, and you're like, oh man, I could have, I missed that summon I had to get, and then now I just can't get it, or that ultimate weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of that they have in this outside the side quest, which I'm just not going to do because even if I finish it, it's going to be a miracle. It also does the thing that I absolutely hate in games where it starts you at like level 25. So you already like start mid-level, and I get it. They're like, oh, the character's already leveled up, blah, blah. I get the story reason, but because you start at that level, it doesn't really give you a lot of chances to grind. So it's just like, you're that level. You could maybe gain one extra level to fight this boss, but you're not going to be able to grind your way to the top, which Final Fantasy VII Remake did the same thing. Yeah. You needed to kind of just be good at the game. Yeah. Because of that, like, I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm hoping my opinion changes, but it is still something I look at as like, do I want to turn this on? And that's even with like it being in rest mode and it just taking 1 second to turn on, and I'll be right back where I was. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it did a really bad job onboarding me. Like it didn't help me get back into Final Fantasy VII. But yeah, beyond that, I mentioned this. I finished Ratchet and Clank. I've been playing Ender Lilies, which is a great Metroidvania with some leveling things like Dark Souls. Again, I'm at a point where I don't know if I'm gonna continue because it is like just a dredge to some of these monsters that I'm fighting have long range abilities, and you're stuck with melee or your long range stuff that's slow and you're dodging most time, but you're also on platforms that if you jump, you fall into poison. So I don't know.
So
I feel like it's
what's going on.
It's so close to being Hollow Knight level of just like worth it. Hollow Knight was that, but Hollow Knight was incredible. But I'm also playing on Switch. I almost wish I would have picked it up on Xbox because it has a lot of frame rate issues on Switch. The loading's kind of a little rough. It just doesn't run very smoothly.
Let me ask you something, okay? And I was experiencing this this past week, is playing games on Switch feels weird. Like it feel like the ones that are designed for Switch, like Mario and those types of games, those feel okay. But like when you're playing anything outside of a Nintendo property, it feels weird playing it on Switch. I don't. It's just the way that like the button placement and how small the joysticks are. I don't know what it is, but it just feels off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a mix of a lot of things. I think it's the Joy-Con aren't that great at controllers, so if you're not playing with a Pro controller, it doesn't feel great. But the other problem is the Switch is so underpowered that if you're used to playing on a Series X or a PS5, every game runs so much more poorly. So, like, let's just get this out of the way now because this episode's going to be weird and just like kind of flighty. They announced a new Nintendo Switch, and it wasn't what we had talked about. It wasn't what was rumored. It was none of those things. It was, I guess there was the first rumor about what they were doing was right on the money. It is a Nintendo Switch that is slightly upgraded, meaning all you'll get is a new OLED screen. It is, I think it's 0.8 inches larger. I think the last one was 6.2 or maybe it was 6 point something. It's now 7 inches because the bezel's smaller. It has a Ethernet port on the dock, which is stupid that the original didn't have that. And it has a better kickstand. So all in all, incredible upgrades. Now I'm just being stupid, but it's $350. It's $50 more, and essentially all you're getting is OLED screen. Does not go up to 4K. There are no improvements to make games run faster. Nothing. Oh, and there's one other thing: is the internal memory is 64 gigs instead of 32. But micro SD cards are so cheap. Like that shouldn't be the reason. If you're gonna spend $350 on this console, the internal storage should not be a concern of yours.
Yeah, you also get I know they integrated the battery upgrade further
so
back.
If you
if you have a first gen, it's an upgraded. You get an upgraded battery system versus what you'd have before.
Yeah, I mean, since we're not traveling as much as we used to, I've ran into one issue where my Switch was close to dying. So and that was just because I was too lazy to put in a charger, for a couple days. I mean, there's minute upgrades. I was all about getting this, but I don't think I'm going to anymore. I don't want to, I don't want to say I won't, because as everybody knows on this podcast, I often say I won't buy something, and then I turn around and buy it real quick. Or I say I'll buy something, and then, like Mario Golf or whatever, I've flip-flopped on 50 times.
Right.
But I don't think I'm going to get it. I think all of the improvements, which I'd like to put in quotes because I just think they're so micro, aren't worth the additional $50. And I personally am going to wait for the hope that there will be a new Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch Pro next year. This one is just,
Yeah. Okay, so I look at this a couple different ways, right? Like, one, this could be a I guess story of the story getting away from the actual product. Where maybe this was what they meant to have come out all along, and then how rumors kind of like telephone in high school, when you say, oh yeah, somebody got a hernia surgery, and then it comes back to you 10 people later, oh yeah, so and so got a sex change. It could also maybe with the you think about the microchip shortage, maybe it was meant to be something bigger, and that just they ran out of time and
totally.
Yeah, so totally. It could be any number of possibilities. I mean, it's not something I'm going to buy, but I think it's cool that it exists. But it's also weird because a lot of electronic companies are clearancing, not companies, but big retailers are clearancing OLED televisions. So I'm wondering, if this is going to be I don't know, old before it even launches? Done being new. Yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo has always been behind the times on tech. And yeah, that I've heard the rumor that they were intending for a better one this year, microchip shortage, blah, blah, blah. The real problem is if there is no Nintendo Switch Pro or new Nintendo Switch next year and they actually launch Breath of the Wild 2 last year, man, that's... Breath of the Wild 1 didn't even run incredibly on the Switch. I didn't have too many issues from a lot of people. I guess Kakariko Village or the Forest, the Lost Woods, there was tons of frame issues. I love that game so much. I don't even think I noticed. But that being said, if those issues were already there 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, how bad is it
Just
going to
like
be?
get your facts straight, man. Come on.
I know. How bad is it going to be if they can't fix those? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be able to fix old issues. I mean, maybe it'll make like some things look better, but I don't think it's going to be enough to like fix something that happened last year. I don't know if they're even going to waste time on something like that.
Yeah, that stuff, yeah, man, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with Breath of the Wild 2. We'll see what ends up happening with the rest of this year, because we discussed like after E3 like some of the games coming out at the end of this year. We might even do another refresher fairly soon, but this year's a little bit bleak on the outside of Game Pass having a bunch of cool stuff on it. This is a rough year for every company. There's nothing. They just announced today that what's Tokyo Ghost? What's that?
Yeah,
game
it got pushed back. Ghostwire
Tokyo, the Bethesda game. It's like, the Microsoft-owned Bethesda game that's exclusive to PlayStation for at least 1 year, maybe longer. Got
Something
pushed
with
back a
Deathloop,
year.
right? Deathloop,
Yeah.
Isn't that a PS5 exclusive?
That is PS5 exclusive. These deals were signed beforehand. They're now Microsoft-owned. Blah, 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 blah. But yeah, so I mean, I already didn't assume that was coming out. My guess is Horizon Forbidden West will not arrive this year. So, I mean, you're essentially looking at like B grade games. You're looking at like, WarioWare and a bunch of things, and then maybe Halo Infinite and Forza kind of holding the end of the year for AAA, and maybe your Battlefields or whatever.
It's still such a small like list of things to play, and granted, Forza is probably going to be a game that people will play for months, but it's still and Halo as well. But it still feels like so little.
Well, yeah, because we've been used to, like, the last 4 years, I feel like there's just so much that comes out every year that making a top 5 or even a top 10 is pretty tricky, because there's so much you want to talk about.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, like, this would have been a good year for Assassin's Creed Valhalla to come out.
Oh, yeah.
Last year there was 3 or 4 other things that were, like, people probably played instead, but, like, this is a good year for a game of that magnitude to come out.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's some hidden thing, which I'll be honest with you, at this point, I'm just not expecting every company to announce, we all have one big AAA game we didn't announce. There might be one more of those in total, but I just don't see like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. Like Microsoft's pretty much shown us their whole year. Nintendo has a game releasing every month. So I think they showed us their whole year. And Sony, they tried showing us way more than they should have. So now they're backtracking on most of their year. I mean, it's probably a miracle that Ratchet and Clank even came out, because it seems like that had some issues. Like, I had a couple hard crashes. There's just a bunch of small issues here and there. Yeah, man, it is that whole thing is totally weird, man. But I don't know, man. We'll see what's gonna happen now that Ghostwire Tokyo is delayed and stuff. But hey, in funny news, this happened. I read this yesterday. That was so silly, and I assume it's because Square Enix just hates spending money, so they don't want to buy more server space. I guess Final Fantasy XIV is so popular right now that they halted digital sales.
Oh yeah, I had read something about that.
For a very short period of time, but still, like, I thought, I was like, wow, that's kind of silly.
But even when they turned it back on, like when you could buy it, there was no like guarantee that if you're a new player, that you were going to get into one of the existing servers.
Yeah, for me, a lot of that stuff is server space is a lot. It costs a lot of money, and they're probably expecting it won't last very long. So why even deal with it? But yeah, I just thought that was really silly.
If the game's hot right now, I mean, it's probably worth spending the money on.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this. I'm just looking back over like some of the stuff we've chatted about in the past, and we never talked about xCloud. Like I got a chance to try that recently. You want to share like what you've thought about in the past? I know you got a chance to try it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. It's I had to go through the iPhone app where they don't let you, or no, I had to go through the iPhone and use a browser, and they don't have an app for it per se, but it lets you create a button on your phone, and you can click on that, and that will let you it'd take you right to the browser page where xCloud exists. So I went on there. A lot of it's great. It loads quick. It's pretty smooth. My experience with it was okay. The only issue I had was my internet is not like powerful enough to run it flawlessly. But I played some Forza on there, and then I played Halo on there. The only thing I don't like about it, and this is not their fault, it's just my fault for having a small phone, is the fact that a lot of those big blockbuster games are meant to be played on big screens. So you get into a game like Halo, for example, and yeah, it's cool. Everyone's like, "Oh, I wish I could play Halo on the go. That'd be rad." And it is rad, but
yeah,
it just kind of diminishes the experience a little bit.
Yeah, it's I thought it works phenomenally well, and if there's a future where I want to get another controller that I tie just to my phone or use one of my other controllers and tie them to my phone, I could imagine playing some grindy RPGs on it, because I have decent internet speeds and we live in a small place, so it just works pretty fast. But it's not going to be my chosen way, but for a free service that I get,
for sure,
I thought
absolutely.
it was like, I was blown away at how good it worked. I tried PS Now back in the day, and it was I know it's gotten a lot better now, but it was so bad when you tried to stream stuff. It was garbage, hot garbage. So now, obviously, it's a lot better too. I haven't tried it recently, so I don't know exactly how much better it works. But from what I understand, it's leagues better. Might even be better than Game Pass or Xbox Cloud Play or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah, but you think about this. So this is a monumental achievement for gaming, because you think about the fact that way back when we had Game Boy, right, and everyone's like, "Oh, cool, I can play games on the go," and they had PSP and PS Vita and the PSP Go, I remember, was a very short-lived thing, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's really cool," but you couldn't play the big titles on those systems, and now you can. And just the ability to do that, having the option to do it is, I think, the best thing about that. But as far as I don't know, as far as just if you're experiencing these games for the first time, I just wouldn't recommend doing it on a phone.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too, because another Xbox thing that's kind of neat that happened is, even if you're not experiencing these on the phone, which they run pretty good, but Microsoft's doing so much work all over the place. They still have a lot of issues. The fact that Quick Resume doesn't work on a lot of my favorite games, like Judgment, which the sequel, got some news we'll talk about in just a second, but it's just that's a bummer. But Dark Souls 3, a game that they patched for PS4 Pro when it came out, but has had no patch, so it ran at 30 FPS and 900p on Xbox One. It got patched up to do 60 FPS with the FPS boost ability. Now, it still runs at a slower resolution, but man, the fact that they did all that work on their end and that patch wasn't pushed by From Software, that's wild. That's such a cool thing to have for free. Otherwise, that game was always going to be 30 FPS on Xbox.
Yeah. So Xbox has done a lot of really phenomenal things lately. The only I guess the only thing that gives Sony a leg up on as far as the quality goes is the fact that on Xbox you can't you have to be, we've talked about this before, you have to be, for most of these games on Xbox, you have to be online to play it.
Yeah.
And you can't when the discs come out, it gives you, the basic code for the game, but it doesn't you can't play them without having those day one patches. Whereas PlayStation, you can play them without having the patches installed. So, I mean, that's the one thing that I kind of irritates me about the Xbox, but other than that, I think that they've done a lot better at servicing their fans than Sony has, especially with some of the stuff that they've done recently.
Yeah, to just pile on to Sony real quick, because this is something that we all talked about privately, but we didn't actually ever talk about on the podcast, is I guess Sony's been really shitting on indie developers recently.
Oh, yeah,
we don't really know if Microsoft or Nintendo are doing something similar, but from what we understand, a lot of indie developers recently came out and said stuff like they don't have control. Yeah, they don't have any control over their games going on sale on the PlayStation Store. They have to pay.
It's hard to get a hold of people to work to actually talk to.
Yeah, and they don't. they have to pay a ton to be shown like sponsored or whatever to make like one of the front pages, which, you know, that could be the same on Microsoft and Nintendo Store, but just still comes calling out from like Sony, the power to the players or whatever. They used, maybe the power to the players, GameStop, whatever. Like they had so many slogans like about like, you know, for the gamer, by the gamer, or whatever, you know, their nonsense was the whole PS4 cycle. And now, you know, they're doing the same thing that Microsoft did at the end of 360 going to Xbox One, and the same thing that Sony did at the end of PS2 going to PS3. They are the power player. They are just becoming kind of like a-holes to every lower person than them.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought was neat before we get to some of the biggest news, I think, is or not neat. This isn't neat at all. Sorry, I was saying that before I actually got a chance to check it out. Lost Judgment, the sequel to Judgment, the Yakuza spinoff series, which is going to be the action RPG series versus the turn-based one, which is mainline Yakuza. It might be ending after the sequel because the actors agency, or the agency who manages the main actor. I can never remember this guy's name. Let me see. He's like a super famous Japanese actor, Takuya Kimura. He doesn't want the game on PC. I guess it has something to do with like Rule 34 and modding, like all the porny stuff and mods.
So why should that affect them making more of the game?
I honestly don't know. It sounds like Sega is bullish on everything being on PC right now. I don't understand why. If that were me and it was like, do I have to recreate a new series or just not put it on PC? But at the same point, like that does hemorrhage a huge subset of the audience. So if they can put it on PC, this one, they could always get another actor and do it. Not that like he's the biggest actor in Japan, but they can find another person, you know, like it's hard. I just think like they could do a 2-game run of Judgment, as cool as it is being like a detective who was a lawyer. Like if they could find another person to play as, just like we all loved what's his name? Kazuma? Not Kazuma. What's his name? The dude who's Yakuza Like a Dragon. The main guy. His name is Kazuma. It's not Kazuma. It's Kaguya. Dude. Oh, Kazuma. Yeah, Kazuma Kiryu. Oh no, that was the last protagonist. That's why I kept getting so confused. That was the last protagonist. This guy's name's Ichiban Kasuga. And he is like super dope. And I never jumped into the Kazuma games. The the main Yakuza dude. Never could get into those. I love Ichiban.
I played Zero. That's my extent in that franchise.
Yeah, I played a little bit of Zero as well, but not enough to really speak on it. But yeah, Ichiban though is great, man. I really, really, really enjoy him in his storyline. So Judgment could be one of those things where it might help more people get into it if they switch the protagonist. Because I know they love these interchanging worlds, and it sucks if this actor doesn't want anything to do with it, so they can never like bring him as a callback, because they love doing that, like bringing all their old actors in to the next one. They're all like there together and doing callbacks. But like if they can't do that, they can't do it. You know what I mean? Like just have different people. So probably the biggest news, at least for us, because we talk about this game, I feel like incessantly. We probably talked about it more since this episode, or since we started back Super BS, than any other series. Assassin's Creed. They confirmed.
We've never talked about that game.
Yeah, we've never talked about Valhalla, not once. We never talked about Odyssey. Assassin's Creed Infinity is confirmed. A lot of people don't know exactly what it is. It's supposed to come in either late 2023 or 2024. The rumor is 2024. It is supposed to be a live service game or a hub. We're not entirely sure what it's going to be. But this idea that, one, there's now at least a 3-year gap. At least a 3-year gap between Valhalla and the next one is crazy.
Okay, so from what I understand, though, this is going to be like like you said, it's a hub, kind of like what they're trying to do with Halo Infinite, but it's going to be you're spanning multiple timelines. Like how's that going to work?
What do you mean? You're going to be outside of the Animus, then you're going to enter the Animus and choose your timeline, which is going to be choosing a game, I bet.
Is okay. See, that makes more sense. But so then
That's what the game always should have been.
Yeah, but so what becomes of the stuff going on outside the Animus? You know, what is that? How are they going to make that all come together? And then
I think they're going to stop I think they're gonna stop whatever they're doing right now with, I can't even remember her name, but whoever, Layla.
Yeah, it's not even interesting. Yeah, I mean, I still don't want to spoil it for you because I'm sure you'll get there eventually. But
they're probably gonna add more to it too. With all the season pass DLCs, they'll add probably just a little bit of knowledge at the end of the final one that you'll need to have played if you want to know. So yeah, man, I think it's good. Yeah. Kill off the outside of the Animus stories that you're doing and just have like an outside of the Animus, I don't know, overarching narrative like, these guys are bad. Here's why they're bad. Go into the Animus and do stuff. And then you go into the Animus and do stuff.
There needs to be a thread that ties them all together because these games feel pointless right now. Like, I love the RPG elements and I love, I like playing them, but they don't, it feels so pointless. It feels like Madden. Assassin's Creed has become Madden. And like, that's something that's going to quickly get me to stop playing these games.
So Assassin's Creed, for me, and we've talked about this multiple times on the podcast, for me, they made the first blunder when they ever took you outside of the Animus. The second that you were not playing a game,
felt that, yeah.
The second that we all thought we were going to be playing a game where you were in Jerusalem as an assassin. The second they're like, oh no, you're actually going back in time and reliving the memories of the ancestor or the I don't know, not prodigy, like the successor or whatever. You're playing your ancestors' memories. That stuff. Yeah. They've struggled with that protagonist since Desmond. It worked out okay for like 2-3 games, but I think they realized like that part of the story blows. Just make a good in-game story. Ghost of Tsushima didn't need you to go outside and be in the modern day world and realize like, oh no, you're just training to be a samurai. That's why you're doing, like, you don't need that like BS narrative. That thing, oh well, we got to show this, like I don't know, man. For me, I think if they pull away from that, other than like, oh, the Animus is a machine you go into to learn the stories of these things, great. If they even tie it in slightly more, where it's like, oh, when you're in that machine, you gain an ability, and at the very end of 50 of the games, you can now run and jump in the main world, and then maybe make a story there. Great, cool, you know what I mean? Like, they got into that with Desmond. That was like the best part of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, okay, but again, like, I don't want to spoil things for you, but yeah, they're hinting at maybe returning to some of those old storylines.
Well, they blew it. So, and the problem is all the games were 100 hours with like 5 to 20 minutes of Animus storyline each of them. So it's like
you don't want that? Is that you don't like that?
I mean, that's fine if the Animus isn't important. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's weird to like try to say it's important and then you play a 100-hour game and less than 1 hour is like outside of the game. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think they botched this series hard, and they're just going to have to give up on the Animus as being like this main overarching narrative, and a bunch of people are going to be really upset. And the Animus will still be there, but I think if they're going to try to tie a story to this, and it's a live service game, and say you don't want to buy one of those games that they make because they'll probably make a ton, or a battle pass or whatever, and then you lose the whole story, don't you think that's going to be a lot bigger issue than them just not being like, oh, hey, this is a hub you walk around outside, click on the little titles? I think it's fine for what it is. The thing I'm more concerned about is like, I don't want to play 10 Valhallas. So how are they going to change the combat and the leveling up and all of that stuff from game to game? I don't want just, 10 Valhallas in a row.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to have it. That would make the game 3 times longer to beat. And then they'd have to worry about where are we going to put the DLC. And that's another question. Like, where's the DLC going to go? It could be fun to have DLC in this timeline, or the DLC could be a whole other timeline. There's so many unknowns about this. And from what I've read about it and what I'm like starting to imagine it's going to be, it sounds exhausting. And I don't even know if I'm interested in it.
All of these games are exhausting. Like you and our friend Dr. Donna and our other friend from high school all played through Valhalla. Like, I'm picking away at it, but I'm not like rushing through it because it is chores. It is the same as Animal Crossing. It's just more fun. That's literally the difference. Is like that one you can't like jump all over the place and do whatever you want and essentially fly through the air. But all of the Ubisoft games is like, hey, here's a dot here. Meet this person. They say something. Maybe they're wacky. They're normally wacky. And then, you go do steal the thing or this. But it's literally just, walk here and then press X or whatever. And there's
Right.
nothing wrong with that, but it's just they're too long. All of the games are too long, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, no, I
Like-
agree. It takes it. Odyssey was long, but it felt
Yeah.
okay because it was, I don't know, it was intriguing. Whereas,
And they also took you from island to island like super
yeah,
quick.
right? So it felt like you were doing more. Whereas like this just feels unnecessarily long.
I also I played it for 20 hours and I still feel like I have no connection with the whole cult story. Like I feel like
I haven't gone
Yeah.
back to do that yet. Like I beat the game itself, but I haven't done the what do you call them, the Order of the Ancient stuff.
Yeah, our friend Dr. John just did all those in the Zealots. I'm like, man, he's going to be Assassin's Creeded out at some point, I would imagine, because I cannot imagine they would give you even as much as they did in Odyssey, which was it upgraded your spear or whatever, the your assassination weapon. So it was like a reason to do it. I feel like a lot of Valhalla is just like you get 2 more skill points. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's tons of stuff I'm missing. But a lot of like the weapons and stuff upgrades don't feel very meaningful. I haven't got any of the super secret ones that are like really dope and special because those are multi-quest ones at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I just think like this Infinity idea doesn't sound bad to me. It just sounds like they're not changing what they're doing, which is what I if it were up to me, like if I was like, hey, you get to choose this, they would make all the games much, much more compact. They don't all need to be 100 hours.
Oh,
they would
no. I mean, that's
incredible 40-hour games.
Yeah, and that's a big complaint a lot of people has was that the game was so big and there wasn't a lot there to populate the world. There wasn't a reason for it to be that big.
Well, yeah. I mean, they try to make a reason. They give you a bunch of fetch quests and assassin quests and all these things, but when you get down to them, they're all like the same thing. Just go A, do B. You know what I mean? Like
right.
And
Exactly.
all games are that in the end, but it feels worse when there's like 5,000 of them. It feels like you see it like, okay, after 10, you notice like, oh, I did this 10 times, and then it's like, do it 200 more times.
Yeah.
Like I think the mysteries were neat in Valhalla, but I also found so little reason to do them that I cannot be bothered to really, really finish the game. But anyways, enough about Assassin's Creed, my man. That's a 2020 game.
We're done talking about this?
We no more chatting about it. We're not even allowed to mention or breathe the name Assassin's Creed as long as we both shall live, shall help us God. I do. Let us, because we're going to end quickie pooey here, because we're both tired like dudes on the edge of our seats, which I guess is when you're really tired, because you're worried you're going to fall over and fall out of your chair.
No, that was good.
2021 has been such an incredible year that we could not choose a top 5, so we will do a top 3 because just it was overflowing with games. So we all played so much. So let's do it, man. Let's each start. Give our third best game from this year, and then work our way to number 1. You want to kick us off, or you want? Should we do an honorable mention?
No, I don't have enough to do an honorable mention.
I'll do an honorable mention then, and this one is just because like I didn't know if it would be my third. It was really close. Bravely Default 2. If we were doing games that had already come out, I would have totally done Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. That would have actually been on my actual list, but we were trying not to do games that have already been released and are remasters or remakes. Bravely Default 2 was a decent JRPG. Like most JRPGs, it is way too long. I've played about 40 hours, and I don't think I'm halfway through the game. It is fun, and it's a good game for Switch, but I start to burn out on games around the 30, 40-hour mark. I will say that I enjoyed what I've played. I doubt I will go back. That's why it did not make my top 3 list of the year. What is your number 3, that hot game? Everybody's got to play this game.
That hot game. All right, at number 3, I have Ys 9.
Really?
This was one. Yeah.
How far did you get in that game?
I got like 10 hours in.
Okay.
So I got a decent amount, like I don't know. I like the combat. I like this. The story's kind of dumb, but like I like the combat. I like being able to swiftly move around rooftops. I don't know. It's got a Spider-Man vibe to it. Kind of just like float around unnoticed, and you can, got that your like Devil May Cry controls where you can just kind of hack and slash and roll and then fly away. I don't know, it's fun. It reminded me of Prototype a little bit, except it's a JRPG. In Prototype you could like fight people and then you're gone. You just kind of like fade out and run away. That's kind of what Ys 9's got. Yeah, I should probably play more, and I don't know if I will play more, but again, my list for 2021 is pretty short because I haven't really played a lot of 2021 games. I've spent a lot of 2021 playing 2020 games, so
you think that's because there weren't as many games that interested you this year, or do you think it was because you had a lot of 2020 games you never touched?
Well, so I got the new consoles, and I had games that I wanted to play, and I just never had a chance to, Well, Xbox obviously is interchangeable, but with like PS5, right? Like I got Sackboy and Astro's Playground and Godfall. So I've been playing all these games that like I didn't get a chance to play to play on launch. So that's where I've been spending a lot of time.
Yeah, I was just curious. Yeah, for me, I've mainly been playing modern titles, but they've been so weak that I have gone back and jumped into older stuff. My number 3 is a game called Lilies, Quietus of the Nights. And it is a game I think I am going to play more of. I talked about just earlier how I have a lot of frustrations with how difficult it is and how it is unpolished in some big ways. Like some of the text is pretty basic. The map, it was not designed super. It's easy to read, but it's not like beautiful. It's not art. It's just like a bunch of nodes with super simple drawings that you can see. So in some ways, it's frustrating because you play this game that's so close to being like almost a Hollow Knight level of good, but it is just missing some
not quite
big
there.
Yeah. So, but honestly, like I dig it. I would recommend if you are like me right now and playing games more on the TV and less handheld, I'd say PC or Xbox is the way to go till at least comes out to PlayStation 5, then get it there too if you want. But it runs so poorly on Switch that it is hard. It's hard when you get in a part where there's a bunch of enemies shooting at you and then everything starts to slow to a crawl and then you get hit because you couldn't see something.
Yeah. Aren't there's a lot of games like that though, right? Like where either the camera's twitchy or there's too many buttons that have to be pressed at once, too many things going on, but it's just not ever going to be perfect.
Yeah, but this frame stuff I haven't seen. Because I've been playing on PS5 and Xbox Series X, I just don't see it very often in any semi-polished game because I don't play a lot of super low-budget indies.
Okay.
So yeah, it's mainly because of the limitations of the Switch. You can tell. Like I would imagine on a more powerful console, it probably has no issues. So yeah, man. I dig it. When we were creating this list, these are games that like I would say feel comfortable buying. Lilies is $25. I recommend it wholeheartedly at that price. But yeah, I just want to say like there is some frame issues. So if that's not what you're feeling, or get it on a console. If you just need that handheld rush, then get on Switch. What is your number 2?
So originally my number 3 was going to be Cozy Grove, and that didn't quite make the list after I tried to go back to it. My number 2, though, is going to have to be Ratchet and Clank. It's grown on me. I still don't think it's a 9, but I don't know. It just kind of like filled that platforming void that Spyro the Dragon left behind. And it is a very pretty game, and it's fun, and it's just, I don't know. It's entertaining. I don't know if it pushes the PS5 to its max, but I think it's a pretty good, example of what the game can be. And I love how they went from like, it doesn't feel like you're just doing levels anymore. You're kind of free to explore a little bit, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, man. Spoiler alert, that's my number 2 as well, man. Great minds think alike. That game is really fun, but I will say, like a lot of other people on the internet mentioned, the second you finish it, you kind of forget it. Like I really, really dug it and I enjoyed it. I have platinumed it, but I haven't thought about it since I beat it. Like it wasn't
Okay.
like a really staying game. That's not a bash on it. Like I think it's a 9 game. It's a lot of fun. About pushing the PS5 to its limit, I mean, this is the first 6 months. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was still really impressive, ran smoothly, was fun to play. I was actually actively excited to play it and finish it. So, and that's why I platinumed it. Since you got to do our number 2, I'm going to do potentially our number 1, which is what I think your number 1 is as well. My number 1 is Resident Evil Village. That game is phenomenal. I love it. It's hard to compare it and 7 because they're different, pretty much genres. One's like action horror, the other one's horror with some action at the end. But Resident Evil Village is my favorite game of this year, and I enjoy it maybe even a little bit more than 7. Is very similar to Resident Evil 4, which is the Resident Evil that got me into the series. I played the Remake 1 on GameCube. That was my first experience, and it was cool, but 4 is the first one I finished. The first one I was like, wow, this is really, really, really cool. This is incredible.
Yeah, so I never got around to playing 4. I always wanted to, and now I'm even more motivated to go back and play it because I kind of want to check out that Netflix show.
Oh, they have a Resident Evil Netflix show that's related to 4?
It takes place in between 4 and 5.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to recommend 4 right now, especially with the VR version that's coming out at either the end of this year or next year, and then there's the rumor of the 4 remake that's going to be in like year 2.
That's what I was getting at. Like, I know they've been talking about that, and that's probably something we'll hear about sooner rather than later. But yeah, Resident Evil Village is a phenomenal game. My only regret is that, like, it was so scary I couldn't finish it. Like,
You actually did not finish it?
No, I'm still stuck on that baby part, man. Like, I want to go.
You didn't just put on the mute, man. Run through the. Oh, wow.
I know. I'm going
so
to.
That's
it's just like gives me anxiety.
Okay, that's not your number 1 then, I take it.
Well, okay, so my number 1 was actually the medium, but
really,
yeah, because like I did really enjoy playing that game.
Wowie woo-ah, man, it's crazy. I did not expect that.
It's I don't know, like it's something that I was able to sit down and play all the way through in like 4 nights, and it was intense, but it was fun. I don't know, like I approach games from a storytelling perspective, and like I think the medium told a good tale.
Okay, I did not expect that in a million years. I thought you were going to say Village as well. I thought you finished it. I turned on Resident Evil Village to play it again, but I think I told you I put the difficulty too high. So I'm going to try to go back at some point and lower the difficulty. But A Village is an incredible game. I was hoping you would add on to more of what I said. I cannot believe you didn't do what I advised, which is play that part in the daytime.
I haven't done it yet. I'm going to.
Wait till the family's out of the house. Play that part in the daytime. It is... I don't want to spoil much, but it is very short. And there are only 2 moments of extreme scares with that. So, it's done. Use a guide. Do it in just like literally probably 10 minutes. Maybe 10 minutes. Shut off the volume. Do it in 10 minutes. Put the volume on low. And because the last 2 places are a blast, and that game gets more and more fun. So it's like, it's a bummer to me that you stopped at the scary section, which I'll be honest with you, I dug. I hated the moment of terror, but I thought they did that point so well, because I was thinking to myself the whole time, I'm like, oh, people are going to hate this game because it's not scary at all, especially after 7.
Yeah.
But it's like, that is a moment that I think people will be talking about, at least, at least saying like, oh, it's this part's scary. They have a part that's terrifying.
Yeah.
My bro stuff. Do you have anything else to add about games this year? Otherwise, I think we might hit the road. I know it's Tai land on your side of the globe because you're in Australia right now, right? That's where you're living?
Right. Shrimps on the Barbie, man.
You're down under, mate. Hopefully,
no, I think we covered everything that I needed to say. What's up? What were you going to say? Tell me.
Yeah, I was about to say is hopefully by the next time we meet and chat, I'll have played some Skyward Sword, because I have that coming real soon.
I know.
We'll have hopefully watched some Space Jam, because that will have launched.
Right.
And yeah, we probably won't get to Microsoft Flight Simulator before we talk again. But yeah, this is going to be... It's going to be a slow summer of a lot of small things. So expect us just to talk about things that we've liked in the past or things that we're excited for in the future, because I think on the gaming present side, this might, everybody was worried about this, and this is exactly what I was worried about too, that like last year wasn't just going to affect last year, it was going to affect games this year, next year, and the following year. And that's exactly what we're going to start seeing. I think we're still not even into the real woods.
No. I mean, especially too, like you hear about the people declaring it and trying to declare another state of emergency. So I think gaming is probably going to get affected by that if that ends up going through.
Yeah. Oh man, it's life. Let's end on a good note. But
Atari's coming back.
Atari's coming back.
There we go.
That's a good note too. Butts are also good, but Atari coming back is also good. Butts. Keep them both there. Okay, my friends, till the future, which will hopefully be good. Do Excelsior!
Peace. Oh, yeah.